Here's my Claude and cursor setup. Instead of using Claude in the sidebar or terminal, I open it in the new tab and drag it over to the right. Pressing Command N creates another instance. Dragging it over will place two instances side by side. We can also drag an instance to the main editor and have three sections side by side. And we can add more tabs to each of these sections so we can comfortably have 6 or more views. The most I've ever had cooking is 5, but usually it's 2 or 3. Even if the tab is not active, it will let you know if it needs your input. Source control view is something I use a lot for staging changes, seeing diffs, what files have changed, and whether there are migrations that need to be taken into account. Command B hides the sidebar when not in use. To keep things organized, I often label the tasks with tags. When I have 3 or more tasks going, plus communicating with people or running tests in a browser or doing research, this saves me from having to scroll up to remember which session is which when I'm back in Cursor. To avoid having to click Allow all the time, I created a Claude settings file like this. Since I'm planning on referencing other repos and don't want to be interrupted by permission check, I added them to additional directories section and limited their access to read only. I've actually had Claude try to modify other repos, so I added these rules. Note the file inclusion tag below the input. This can be turned on and off by clicking on it. To include other files in context, use the @ symbol or just type them out. Selecting some lines in a file will automatically reference them. This is handy if, for example, you've created a thorough PlanMD file at the start of the project, and while reviewing it, you want to adjust or work on a specific part. It works in reverse too. If you click on the modified file, it takes you right to the modification, so you can micro-adjust that part of the code. To add reference images, drag them in while holding Shift. If the columns get a little narrow and you need more space, you can either double-click on the tab to make it larger relative to the others, or if you want all the space you can get, press Command RM and it will hide all the other tab groups. To bring them back, press Command RM once more. If you don't want files opening in a specific tab group, it can be locked. Another thing to note is that you can reopen past jobs in new tabs, so if you've cleared a session, you can always bring it back. Now, a few words about parallel work. Generally, Claude is great at not overriding its own changes from parallel sessions. If a file has been modified since the time it's been read by the session, Claude will actually reread the file and adjust its flow. This means that you can work on multiple features with overlapping files. I've done this a lot and haven't run into any issues. If I'm planning on working on something that overlaps a lot, I just plan on one tab and implement in another. Planning often takes longer than the implementation anyhow. Another way of working with parallel processing is to use work trees. First, create a new branch in a worktree directory with git worktree add your worktree directory -b your branch name main. Then in terminal, cd into that directory and initialize the repo. Then open it in Cursor. Then go back to the main window and do it again with another worktree. And now we have two completely parallel and independent worktrees and branches. We can push these out as two separate PRs, or if we need them to be tested together, we can create an integration worktree, then ask Claude to merge the other two worktrees into the integration branch and resolve conflicts. And here are some practices that I found helpful. I always use plan mode unless it's something very simple. When working on a plan, I ask Claude to interview me about gaps and ambiguities. This prevents it from rolling with the first approach it stumbles upon and makes for much more comprehensive and filled-in plans. When the plan is made, I ask Claude, what are the weaknesses of this approach? This often reveals better pathways. Also, if the plan is a master plan for the initial implementation, I tell Claude to write it to PlanMD so that it can be referenced by other sessions. Then I can progressively work on it without worrying about context or losing details during a compact. When it comes to actually implementing a multi-part plan, ask Claude to use subagents. This will spawn parallel processes and make it go much faster. As a side note, don't be afraid of interrupting Claude to ask clarifying questions or add instructions. Hit escape to do it. Otherwise, if you just type extra instructions without hitting escape, Claude will add your input to the queue and only execute it after it's done processing. And that's it. I hope you found this helpful.